everyone. I welcome you all to today's topic decodified session. In this session today, we are going to talk about biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, that is BBNJ treaty. And this topic falls under the environment section from your UPSC CSE's perspective. So we shall be covering this particular topic in the following sequence. We shall be finding out why it is in news. Then we shall be covering the key highlights related to the treaty. We shall know about the treaty and UNCLOS, followed by the prelims and means-based practice questions for you all. Before I move further with my discussion, I want you all to pay attention towards the very crucial announcement, that is Polity and Ethics Foundation Course 2023, that is going to begin tomorrow, that is on 25th of August for Polity and Ethics, and you are going to be taught by Nitin Shivhare sir, who is the founder and director of Analyst IAS. To inquire further regarding the admissions and the course details, you can contact on the given numbers, and you can also visit our office in the Old Rajendra Nagar. Now let's begin with our discussion. So why it is in news? Recently, the 5th meeting of the Intergovernmental Conference IGC 5 for the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction BBNJ Treaty was held in New York. It was held under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, that is UNCLOS, to create a new legally binding global treaty to govern marine biological diversity in areas of high seas beyond national jurisdiction. The key highlights were: it was convened by the United Nations General Assembly as a follow-up to earlier 4 IGCs which were inconclusive to finalize the BBNJ treaty. It may be the last round of negotiations to frame the BBNJ treaty under UNCLOS for the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity beyond national boundaries in the high seas. IGC 5 discussions focused upon marine genetic resources, including issues on sharing benefits, measures such as area-based management tools of the marine protected areas, environmental impact assessments, EIAs, capacity building, and the transfer of the marine technological as well as cost-cutting issues, collection of MGRs of areas beyond national jurisdiction, that is marine genetic resources of areas beyond national jurisdiction, provision of access to traditional knowledge of indigenous people and local communities associated with marine genetic resources on the high seas. So about the BBNJ, it is a treaty also known as Treaty of High Seas. It is an international agreement. The new treaty is being developed under the framework of UNCLOS, that is United Nations Convention on Law of Seas. There are 5 aspects to this agreement: environmental impact assessment for activities taken up on high seas, conservation of marine genetic resources, capacity building, technology transfer, cross-cutting issues such as institutional structure and financial support. The area underneath this treaty is going to be the area that is beyond national jurisdiction, and in fact, in that manner, it consists of 95% of the ocean. The concerns because of which this treaty is being created is that the areas are now vulnerable to growing threats of overexploitation, pollution, and the impacts of climate change. Thus, the significance of this treaty is going to be that it is going to provide an opportunity to fill gaps and address weaknesses in the ocean governance. So, Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Treaty. It is a proposed, you have to focus on the word proposed, that is, it is not yet a treaty. In fact, possibly the last negotiations are done and now the treaty is going to be formulated. So it is a proposed, legally binding. Again, it is a very important fact that it is going to be legally binding international agreement on conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction. Currently, under negotiation at United Nations. It is also known as the Treaty of the High Seas. It will be third legal instrument under the framework to the 1982 United Nations Convention on Law of the Sea. Other two are the 1994 Agreement on the Implementation of Part 11 of UNCLOS and the 1995 UN Fish Stocks Agreement. It aims to achieve a more holistic management of high seas activities for better balancing the conservation and sustainable use of marine resources. Jurisdiction. It will help to conserve biodiversity in areas beyond national jurisdiction (BBNJ) that lie outside the country's 322-kilometer exclusive economic zones and national jurisdiction of countries. So what was the need of this legally binding treaty? Basically, BBNJ encompasses areas of high seas beyond the exclusive economic zones or national waters of the country. These areas account for almost half of the Earth's surface and 95% of the ocean. They are also least understood or explored and are hardly regulated. Only 1% of these areas are under protection. They provide invaluable ecological, social, economic, cultural, scientific, and food security benefits to humanity. Scientific information over the past decade has revealed that the richness and vulnerability of marine biodiversity in these areas, particularly around seamounts, hydrothermal vents, sponges, and cold water corals. However, there are several concerns about the increasing anthropogenic pressures on them posed by existing and emerging activities for food, minerals, or biotechnology such as fishing, mining, marine pollution, and bioprospecting in the deep sea. So, as we know that it is being formulated under UNCLOS, once we are done with knowing about this particular treaty and related developments, the need, and all of the other aspects, we must also talk about UNCLOS. It is going to be a quick revision. So it is also called the Law of the Sea Convention or Law of the Sea Treaty. It defines the rights and responsibilities of nations with respect to their use of world's oceans, establishing guidelines for businesses, the environment, and the management of marine natural resources. It was adopted in 1982 and is the outcome of Third United Nations Conference on Law of the Sea, UNCLOS 3, held between 1973 to 1982. Currently, 167 countries and the European Union (EU) have joined in the convention. India had signed it in 1982 and ratified it in 1995. So this particular image tells you about the various zones under the UNCLOS. So up to the 12 nautical miles, it is territorial sea of a particular country, and this is the internal waters in fact. Then there is contiguous zone up to 24 nautical miles. There is exclusive economic zone up to 200 nautical miles, and thereafter starts the high sea after 200 nautical miles. So this was the information that we could have explored around this news, making this news an opportunity for us to understand various aspects with regards to our UPSC CSE perspective. Now let's look at the prelims practice question. Consider the following statements about biodiversity beyond national jurisdiction, BBNJ Treaty. It is a proposed legally binding international agreement on the conservation and sustainable use of marine biological diversity of areas beyond national jurisdiction. Number 2, it will be the third legal instrument under the framework of the 1982 UN Convention on Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. Your combinations are A, 1 only, B, 2 only, C, both 1 and 2, and D, neither 1 nor 2. You have to pick the correct combination from the combinations given below. I shall be discussing the answer of this particular question with you guys tomorrow. Now let's look at the question that we had with ourselves yesterday in yesterday's topic decodified session. So the question is, consider the following bodies: Number 1, National Human Rights Commission. Number 2, the Zonal Council. Number 3, Interstate River Disputes Tribunal. You were to assess which of the above is or are constitutional bodies. So, zonal councils are statutory bodies. That's why they are not going to be included in this answer. We have discussed about it in detail yesterday, and I also told you during the discussion of the topic that zonal council is a statutory body, right? Or zonal councils are statutory bodies. So, your answer for this particular question is D, none of the above. Now, it's time for the mains practice question of today. Discuss the significance of the Treaty of the High Seas. Yes, here we are talking about BBNJ. Easily, you can gather the material for this particular answer from our session itself, because not much of the material right now is available on the internet regards to this particular topic. And I shall be expecting an answer in 150 words for this particular question. Send in your answers to us on WhatsApp to get it reviewed. This is it for today. I shall see you again tomorrow. Till then, take care, stay tuned. Thank you so much for joining in.